Hi friends, my name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the 8 books that I read in January, February, and March. Basically the first quarter of the year. I do have about 5 of the books with me. The other 3 I did read on my Kindle. A lot of these books I did read either in physical form or in Kindle. I kind of switched between both physical and Kindle just depending on my mood and where I'm going. We're gonna go ahead with January. In January, I did read 3 books. I do have all 3 physical copies of the books with me. The year started off really strong because I did end up watching Heated Rivalry in late December. I watched it a couple times and I was like, you know what? I really want to read the books just to get into the world a little bit more. And also, as of now, there's only 6 books of that entire series. There's going to be a 7th one made that I'm really excited to go and read, but that's going to be coming out later on this year. I did start off the year reading Game Changers. I rated this book 3.5 stars. I thought it was okay. Like, I wasn't enthralled in the story. Like, I felt Scott and Kip's relationship in the story was like they got together and like, I don't know, I felt like I needed a little something, but I'm really glad that I read this book. It just starts off the storyline for the rest of the characters so well. And then I read Heated Rivalry, and this was my first 5-star read of the year. Yes, I did give a spicy romance book 5 stars just because it was that good. I do have a bit of this highlighted. I still need to go through my Kindle and kind of see where my highlights kind of match the book versus the Kindle. So I'm not done highlighting the entire book just yet. It's really fun to see a show and then it be done so well that like you read the book, you're basically just watching the show as you read the book, because Jacob did such an amazing job with the show. Like, the rest of the 2 seasons can be really bad or it can be really good, and I'm still going to love them no matter what, just because I know that Jacob really put his heart and soul into this entire series. He quite literally did such a good job. I did rate it 5 stars. It was so good. Their banter in the book is so well done. I quite literally had a blast. The last book that I read in January was People We Meet on Vacation. I did read this book as a book club book with all of my work friends, and then as soon as we were done reading the book, once the movie kind of came out, we all went over a house and then we watched the movie. Reading the book and watching the movie are 2 very separate identities. Like, you need to go into reading the book with a very different mindset than watching the movie. I generally thought the movie was done really well. Did it have really good adaptation to the book? Not really. Was the book really fun to read? Yes. This was my very first Emily Henry book. I do have a bit of this highlighted. Like, Poppy was so fun to read about, and she was so quirky. She felt like a real human, even though obviously she's made up in someone's head. I really liked the structure of the way that Emily Henry wrote her books. Ideally, I wanted to read the Emily Henry series in the order that the books have come out with. Like, a group of my friends really wanted to watch the movie. We were like, might as well just read the book and kind of see how it goes. I rated this book 5 stars. It was just really good. It was just a sit down, easy. I love easy to read romance books just because I don't want to think too much about these characters. I want everything kind of given to me really easily. So moving on to February, I only did read 2 books. First book that I read was A Man Called Uwe, and I did listen to this book on audio. I mainly use Spotify. The Man Called Uwe I did rate 4 stars. That old man did remind me of my ex-stepdad. Everything about his grumpy personality. He like didn't really like being around other people. He didn't like talking to other people, and as soon as I was reading about him, I was like, oh my god, this literally reminds me of my ex-military stepdad. I did rate that book 4 stars. I thought the book was really good. There is a movie, I believe, that it's based off of. I really want to see the movie at some point and kind of just see how it was made into a movie, because I do think that book adaptations are so interesting to discuss and they're so interesting to see. There's a lot of them coming out this year actually, which I'm very excited about. Talking about book adaptations, my next book that I read in February was The Nightingale. I randomly decided to pick this up. I have heard really great things about Kristen Hanna's books, and let me just tell you, they're so good. I do remember that it probably took me a little bit of time to kind of get into this book, but overall literally gave this book 5 stars. The story was really captivating. It was really emotional, pulled at your heartstrings. It was tender, it was sweet, it was sad. I cried a little bit towards the end because some something kind of happens. It's set in World War II. It is very tragic. This is going to be made into a movie. They already announced who the two lead actresses are, so I'm really excited. I cannot wait to go see that, even though I know that it's going to be very, very sad to watch it. But this book was so good. It was so well written, the storyline. It does kind of go back between like time frames a little bit, just because you're dealing with a couple of people's point of view, and in order to understand what they're either going through or what they have gone through, you need to kind of understand other people. I generally really enjoyed it. I did listen to this book on audio mainly. I did have the book with me, so every now and then if I just wanted to sit on my bed and wanted to read the book, I did with the audio. I do find that listening to the book while reading it is such an enjoyable experience, just because I feel like I retain the information a little bit better. This book is quite big and it is quite hefty. It's such a good read. I read 3 books in March. I have not read a lot during the month is what I've noticed. Not as much as last year, because the most I have read last year in June and July was I read 6 books in June and then 6 books in July, which I don't understand how I went through that many books. But I really want to hope to get to 50 books this year, so let's see if I can even make it to 50 books, but that's what I'm hoping for. But the first book that I read in March was The Favorites. I did read this around the time that the Winter Olympics were going on. I read this one and then The Nightingale kind of simultaneously, which I don't really understand why I did that. I really need to focus on like one book at a time, just because if I have 2 books going, I feel like I take too long reading one book and then I push off another, and then it's not really good for me. So I don't understand how people do that. They can read like 3 books in one go. I did read this book during the Winter Olympics, and it was like the perfect setting to watch the sports and then also read about a winter ice sport. This one I rated 4.5 stars. If you do read this, please listen to the audio, because there are a bit of commentators throughout the book, and it is so much more fascinating to listen to the book than to read it. This book was really fun to read. It was very dramatic. It was honestly the most fun I've ever had reading a book. I loved it. I also think this is going to be put out into a movie or a TV show. I did have a grand old time reading this book. And the next book that I read was A Killing Cold, and I read that with the same friend that I read A Man Called Uwe with. That one was my first mystery of the year, and that one I rated 3 stars. I generally thought that book was okay. I first saw it in Barnes & Noble, and they were like, oh, this is gonna be the new book. This is the book that we're all talking about. I read it and I was like, oh. It was an okay read. The last book that I read was Project Hail Mary, and I rated that book 4 stars. As soon as I was done with the book, I went and saw it, so it was like really fresh in my memory. I absolutely loved the movie adaptation to it. They did take out few things, but like it makes sense for what the movie has to offer. The book is very science heavy, because obviously it is a very science heavy book. Please read it. This is another one that you need to listen on audio, just because there are some noises that you obviously cannot get from the book. It's just so much better on audio. That one I did have to read through Audible because Spotify does not have it. I absolutely loved that book, and I thought the book was really well done. The storyline, the chemistry between 2 characters, and how emotional you kind of feel towards one. It's a great story. The movie is also fantastic. Literally no notes. Those are all the books that I read in the first quarter of 2026. I cannot wait to kind of see what else I get into, and maybe throw in a big mix of genres, try to see how many books I can read a month. That is it for today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe down below. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite book of this month or last month was, or your favorite book of the first quarter of 2026 was. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!